Well, my name is Oscar, this is Jifei. Just wanted to do a more casual video, really to talk about the traditional way of learning, like in university schools, and how come people don't speak or aren't at a conversational level even after 4 years, 5 years, after having learned for so long. Because we meet a lot of people who have been learning either in China or they learned in in their own home country, speak to a lot of Italians, Americans, who have learned in university for so long, but they still can't hold a 10, 15-minute conversation. Oftentimes they can have really basic conversation, they can understand what's being said, but once a native speaker speaks fast, especially in Chinese, they get completely lost.
With accents.
Especially with accents. So people tend to even focus on accents because of that. Mm-hmm. But the main question we want to address today is how come, even after 4 years, people are not able to have clear communication and be able to express themselves, and then compared to Jifei, who learned English and Spanish in traditional education, but then also by herself to really get to that conversational level, and how she was able to do it very efficiently and fast by herself. And I'll share my own experience as well. So yeah, that's the question we want to tackle, because we have students, they'll do between 4 to 8 months after coming out of university, and then with simply, 6, 7 months, they're able to start really speaking and having a regular conversation. Of course, it's not going to be perfect, but at least they can express themselves in just a few months compared to those 4 years that were kind of wasted, So crazy.
Yep.
So I was talking to an Italian girl, and actually multiple, and they had been learning Chinese for their 4 years. Then they graduated, and they were like, "Damn, I can't even speak Chinese yet. I can't get a job." And this was really frustrating. So, but we have also some of those students that have graduated from us, and then they can speak. So I'd love to dive in, I guess firstly, what happens there? Why do you think that universities or high schools aren't as effective as they should be?
Well, where can I start?
Yeah, kind of a big question, but...
Yeah, I think we'll tackle on one specific problem first.
Yeah.
I think you talk to hundreds of students.
Yeah.
So what's the most common thing that they tell you? And then we'll dive into that angle.
What's not working, you feel? What did they say?
Yeah, what's their impression, their experience in university?
Yeah. Well, I'll share about my own experience as well, which was learning German in high school for 12 years and still couldn't speak it.
Yeah. How about Chinese?
Chinese,
what do the students tell you?
For Chinese, they say that there's no conversation practice and they cannot understand when people speak fast. But really the lack of being able to express themselves, that's the most frustrating part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think based on my own experience and the students that I've worked with, because when I work with them, they find it really interesting. It's kind of something we never do in the university. A lot of teachers or the course structures are set up to cover knowledge points. So they focus on explaining grammatical structures or vocab, but especially grammatical structures, because I've worked with students that they're quite wired to think about, grammar, and then let's practice. Let's do exercises around that grammar, which is not wrong, but it's not the most efficient way. But I see how wired they are, and because of their past experience in universities or the courses or the teachers that they have. Because languages, if you want to acquire a language, it's really not like history or math. Once you understand the structure, or we understand it rationally that you can speak, it doesn't work that way. Because also there's a lot of you need to put yourself out there, really talk, really speak, make mistakes, and then relearn structures or vocab or everything related to Chinese. But a lot of the learning happens in doing it, in applying and speaking the language. So we call it like language acquisition. We call it acquire a language.
Hmm.
You don't learn a language, you do acquire a language.
So what does that mean?
Acquire a language, it's beyond just rationally understand that. Okay, you need to really apply it. You really use it, even though it's not perfect.
Yeah.
That's one other thing that people just really wait till that they have the certainty, they speak perfectly, they don't make mistakes. They don't make mistakes because they don't want to make a fool of themselves.
And how does that prevent people from actually progressing?
I think you never know, because the confidence is built through not being so good or kind of suck at it, and then getting a little bit better, still suck, and then not too bad, and then get to a good level. Because then you never build your confidence, because you cannot build the confidence by not doing that. Just like swimming, we use that example, or riding a bike. I will wait till I feel confident to ride that bike. Would that work?
Yeah, no, of course not.
Yeah. So it's quite similar to that. So you cannot gain confidence through that.
So practicing speaking is super important.
Yeah.
And is this only in Chinese, or say for any language?
When they're learning other languages, you mean?
Yeah. Like, is this applicable only to Chinese, or are you saying for any language?
It's quite universal.
Yeah.
Like, because you know that I learn languages. This year I plan to learn 10 languages. So what my biggest discovery is what I applied into Chinese. It's super ideal for other languages as well. So I'm learning how I teach, and then I learn that way too. So it's very universal.
To make sure that people learn even more efficiently, and so that they don't need to waste time, right? Yeah. So, often people say that Chinese is very difficult. Like, why is Chinese maybe a bit more difficult for most people, but compared to other languages, where they say, a lot of people, they'll say, oh, I picked up Spanish so much more easily, but Chinese is more difficult.
Okay, this is a really simple, I have a really simple answer for you. The answer is really simple. I need something round.
Something round?
Yeah. Something round, just give me something round.
Like this? Or?
Or give me a piece of paper, please.
Like this?
Yeah, a paper would be better.
Okay.
Okay, let's get a piece of paper, and then I'll demonstrate you. It's really simple. And then that's how it is. Okay. So let's say this piece of paper. Let's say this. Okay.
I don't know if they can see though.
You can't see, but maybe you know that I'm... Okay, let me just tear it apart.
Let me do it.
Let's go.
Cool. By the way, this is a very casual video.
It's casual.
No prepared. Probably won't edit that much. Just so you have like a casual conversation to actually find out, how to learn more efficiently.
I have a piece of paper. Okay, that means this represents your attention. Everyone has 100% of attention. Okay, so when you learn, you cannot. Well, some people think that they can learn several things at the same time, but you only focus on one thing. Like when you learn, that's the most efficient way. Otherwise, you cannot get things done.
At one moment, not over like a...
At one moment, right. At one moment, you only do one thing, right? Do we agree on that? Once we agree on that, this becomes really simple, because if this is your attention, you only have 100%. And most of the learners that I see tear their attention apart. This, they give it 2 tones. Okay, can you hold it? This, they gave it 2 characters. Okay. And then vocab acquisition, gaining vocab, learning grammar. Okay. And they only have partially left and they want to listen a little bit of Chinese, okay, talk to people a little bit. If they're picky about their learning, they will spend a lot of time like making their materials beautiful, making their flashcards beautiful, and then the only attention they have for the real stuff is just these. So that's
what's the real stuff?
The real stuff is the speaking part. You really practice your speaking and then really gain massive amount of comprehensible input.
So listening training.
Yes, listening and speaking. So that's why they think it's so hard, because they think they have a misbelief. They believe they need to divide all the attention to all of them. Okay, these are how their attention are. Of course, it's extremely difficult. You're kind of doing multiple things at once, and then, of course, and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Everything becomes more difficult. So this is the current situation with, especially with Chinese, because it has this aspect of tones and characters.
And that confuses a lot of people. Well,
exactly.
It's just a lot of people or teachers put attention on that because they're like, characters, they say characters need to be learned because otherwise you're not going to be able to read.
Exactly. So,
but if you're not going to China yet, like you don't need to, what we often teach students is that you don't need to be able to read just yet, especially if you're not living in China. But also in typing in pinyin works very well because it just gets translated to characters, and then you'll learn the characters just along the way. But if you can actually speak first, then it becomes so much easier.
Most of the learners do have the need to communicate with people. What is languages anyway?
Yeah.
It's just a tool. What's that tool for you? It's a tool for you to connect to people, for you to talk to people, for you to learn from others, to listen to their culture, to belong in a new tribe. So what does that goal mean to you? For most of the learners that I meet, it means they need to be conversationally fluent and then being able to understand what native speakers say. All right, so this pie becomes a lot easier right now. Okay, if you can remove those that are not that relevant. Okay, I'm not saying that it's not important. Like personally, I love characters and I love writing them. I'm really proud. But I know some parts are more important for learners than others. And some deserve their full attention. If you think about this pie, okay, so you learn the pinyin, and then you learn some basic knowledge of Chinese, and then you just keep practicing speaking, and then you make mistakes, you learn from your mistakes. At the same time, you gain a lot of input. So you're dividing this attention probably a lot. You can 50-50 even, you know?
Was that speaking and listening?
Yeah.
So basically output and input? No.
Yeah, I would say like 20% will go to still like gaining the basic knowledge.
What does that mean?
Meaning have a good habit in practicing vocab passively, either through flashcards or vocab list. Okay, these are really efficient way. You have a way to gain the knowledge, okay, and then know the structure. But when it takes less of your time, like 20%, and I believe this is the optimal ratio, and a lot of the tension can 80% left, and you can divide to speaking and listening. And actually, what's wonderful about this is Chinese not only becomes easy, it actually becomes a lot easier than Spanish, French, English, you know?
Because Chinese is so logical.
The grammar is really simple. The word is logical, okay? And then what else? Yeah, basically this. Like if you study the language families, and you really look into that, Chinese grammar is very not developed comparing to English and Spanish.
Or German.
And you see how long sentences that how long sentences they're able to form in other languages, you cannot form in Chinese. Why?
Oh yeah.
because of characters.
Mm.
Because Chinese language throughout the history, character plays such an important part. People really focus on writing them and then what each word means. The language itself throughout the history hasn't developed that much in grammar because it was heavily placed on character. That makes this language extremely easy to learn because the grammar is not that developed.
That's wild.
It's very contextual. You need to just base on the context. That means there are not that many specific rules.
Yeah, that's wild. So we've been talking for a while now. Should start to wrap up. For people who have gone through university, they probably know a few words. Like generally we'll meet people who know at least 1,000 words, but they can't really speak at all. What can they do right now? What do they need? If there's one thing they need to focus on or an action they can take, what would they want? What should they do?
Okay. Seriously. I would say, so you said that it's a university students that they're in that situation having some vocab, active or passive, and then they don't speak.
Yeah, either they're in university or they graduated even a few years ago, but yeah, they never reached the conversational level because of the lack of training.
Wow. Just really, really pause what you're doing for a moment and really get yourself hear more perspectives, hear more input, then see what are the other ways to learn a language. Me, myself, I cannot ask everyone to be a linguist because I'm passionate about linguistics, the science behind language. But that's also one thing that I learned that has fundamentally changed my relationship with language learning, because once I really know how to learn a language, and I know what it is, and then I know myself, my brain, how it works. So if you can gain some knowledge about that as well, like what is really the science behind it? How can you really learn scientifically? You have a better understanding, because the video can't fit that much, so I will just stop right here.
Yeah, and I'll just to wrap up, I'll say that it's crazy the change that you can make just by focusing where you put your attention, like with the paper that we're seeing. Because we had we had multiple students that either had graduated university, work in a Chinese company, but still can't understand what her colleagues are saying, like Alex. And then we're 4 months in, she's already understanding her colleagues and can chime in to talk to her colleagues. But she had done 4 years already, and in 4 months, and she's already communicating. And then we had Muskan, who was about to pass HSK2, but then she was like, HSK is not for me. And in 2 months after learning with us, she was already like putting her podcast on double speed because she was understanding so much faster. And then 8 months after, she went to Taiwan and could basically understand everything that people were saying, and they were able to respond, even if it was just a basic way, but her confidence was so high.
We've seen so many cases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just by focusing your attention on the right things, speaking and listening. If you need a specific tool, I would say go Google comprehensible inputs, because that at least helps you really to train yourself in a more natural way.
Yeah.
Right.
I have so much more to share as well, but we'll cover it in another video.
For sure. Make sure to follow, make sure to subscribe, whichever platform you're on. But yeah, much love. Really.
No, the new way to do is like this.
Like this?
No, it's this.
Oh, that's too silly. That's too silly.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much for watching. Share this with your friends because, yeah, you need to make sure that people actually learn how to learn more effectively.